That's what I'm trying to do, is just to bring words to the understandings that some of us all have. It's, there's a way of understanding the nature of reality and how people are and how the world is in reality, and it hangs together, and that's what we're trying to find. And some of us have found that intuitively, which is great. But as soon as somebody actually gives some explanation for that, and you can say, yes, that's exactly how I think, it changes things. You can claim it, you're not alone. That's the first thing, it's quite difficult to know this material, these explanations, and have no one to talk to about it. It's not an easy job, because most of the teachers are actually changing established teachings from Christianity, for example, and traditional Eastern thinking, and so on. These teachings have actually become very established and crystallized, so that when you wake up to a feeling that you don't like Christianity fully for all its philosophy, and you look around, then you just find either another version of Christianity called by a different name, like most of the New Age teachings are actually Christian, really. Or you find you're following Hinduism or Buddhism, which is beautiful, but it's not our culture. We don't really understand it. We can't get it. And there isn't, it's not obvious. I've never found a teaching which packages everything together in a way which is consistent. Even in Sufism, these ideas aren't written down. And when I talk of Sufism, I'm trying to represent the teachings of my Sufi master, but I don't think he was traditional. I think there's a big difference between what he said and what real traditional Sufism says. And my first initiation was in traditional Sufism, so there was a difficulty reconciling some of his practices with that. For example, I just assumed that everybody in the Sufi group in London would understand the word Bismillah, which is like spoken every day by every Muslim. Every Sufi just uses the word Bismillah every moment of his life in many cases.
And what does it mean?
It means I begin in the name of God, who is mercy and compassion, literally. It reminds us in every breath that it's new, that we don't carry anything forward from the past if we don't choose to. This moment is new. You can be what you want now, and different from what you have been. It's all new, and you can forget the past if you remember this. And that's the central essence of Sufism, and it's not even taught in the West. I've never heard anybody talk about this essential newness of every moment, and it's just not understood. I mean, that's why it's not taught, because the people that are teaching what they call Sufism, they haven't studied the traditional Sufism. They've studied lots of bits of it, and they've got lots of the wisdom, but not the essence. And the essence of Sufism is very different from what people teach in the West, I think.
I don't think I've heard of in other religions, or yes, in another Hinduism or maybe Christianity, where you have this in the mystical branch of these religions, where they say this. Let's start from anew, like Bismillah, you said. But do they say in Christianity? Do they say in Hinduism?
Well, no, they have karma in Hinduism, and they have original sin in Christianity, which is the same thing. They don't teach that you're beginning anew. They teach that you've done some really, really bad things before you came to this life, and you better be a good person, to make sure.
Opposite. But I think in mystical traditions of these religions, like for example, Advaita in Hinduism, in Vedas, where they have this moment. This moment is only truth, but they don't have a word for this.
Well, I think that's right, that the mystics within each religion are going to find this. I think there's a big difference between a religious teaching and a mystical teaching, but I don't think that mystical teachings survive organizational structure of teaching. As soon as a teaching becomes structured, it loses its mysticism and becomes religious. You know, it's a very difficult process to structure a teaching, because you get people passing on things that they don't understand because they haven't really got it, but they want to teach it. And therefore the form is presented, but the meaning is not. The atmosphere, the tone, there's a mystical awareness that passes when knowledge is taught. And we can see it in our group. Sometimes there's this feeling of what you've described as disconnect. The group just doesn't become a group.
Yeah.
And everybody's saying something, but it's nothing to do with what was said before. Not in essence, in form, but not in essence, because the atmosphere is missing. And that atmosphere is everything to the teaching.